Okay, we had the unveiling of the deal with the United Kingdom, the first of the trade deals, but we've had some information about India. What was unveiled is an outline of the trade agreement. We saw the market rally. It did not close at the highs of the session. We ended up getting a doji on the S&P 500. The Dow was up 254 points, up 0.62%. The S&P was up 0.58%, up 32.5 points. NASDAQ was up just over 1%. The Russell was up 1.85%, the best performer of the four. This continues to show weakness below the 50-period moving average, down 4.5%, down to 22.48. S&P got a candle of indecision here in the form of a doji. The VIX got a little spinning top. The VIX remains below the green line, the 50-period moving average, below the 10-period moving average, getting rejection at that yesterday. As long as we hold below the 50-period moving average, good things can happen on the S&P 500. If the VIX gets back above the 50-period moving average, then expect volatility to return. If the VIX moves down towards the lower band, towards the 200-period moving average, we could see a bigger rally on the S&P 500. CD in negative territory for the VIX. The RSI remains below 50. Stochastic is still at extremes. Tried to turn up with that attempted rebound, but again, still holding below the 50 and getting rejection at the 10-period moving average. It was the VIX that correctly predicted that this rally was going to happen. VIX was correct. Again, we've moved into a risk-on environment with breaking the downtrend. We are witnessing some historic things, a historic reversal bar with, I think, the second best day on the S&P 500 in history. We had that historic winning streak, the best winning streak in 20 years. We continue to be in a risk-on environment, and the S&P trend turned bearish, turned back to bullish before we move back into a risk-on environment. We get a candle of indecision just under the 200-period moving average today. We have, after a 21% drop, we have the S&P having now risen to just under our 200-period. I told you that was going to happen down here before the rally started. We've risen up 18.39% so far. From the higher low, we've risen up a 12.25%. We've come up above the 61.8 Fibonacci right here. We're at the just under the 200. The 78.6 Fibonacci is directly above that. This horizontal resistance as well. NASDAQ has risen by 22.5% off of the low, and we have the NASDAQ just overthrowing the 200 period today, getting also a doji candlestick. Doji candlesticks here on the S&P and the NASDAQ, they could be either reversal bars or continuation bars. Guess is we're still going to try to go a little bit higher, and then we'll see if we get a right shoulder forming. This is not it right here, but I said we can go higher. We could get a sloping trend line with a lower high or a slanted neckline higher, and again still try to come up to the 78.6 Fibonacci or even beyond that and get a right shoulder. The pattern is still very, very much in play for the inverse head and shoulder patterns that we've been watching here. Again, we've had this V-shaped type of recovery here. Again, do we get it here, go a little bit higher, and then get it if we end up seeing the pattern form, and it have possibilities. If the inverse head and shoulders pattern completes, it would measure above this peak over here at the February high. It would measure to new highs. Bitcoin just blew past these 200-period moving averages after consolidating. Do we see the same thing and maybe the pattern doesn't form? Okay, the inverse head and shoulders. Bitcoin just blew past the 200-period. Now above, Bitcoin's now above 100,000. It's likely going to pull back, drop back below 100,000. I believe it'll go higher, 103, 104, 105,000, something like that, then pull back. See a similar situation with the market, but we could try to get above the 200-period briefly and then pull back to the 50 or something bigger here. But I think these patterns still have some strong possibilities. If we pull back immediately or go a little bit higher and then pull back, I think you can see, go higher and then pull back to the 50 as it's trying to curl back up and end up getting, again, a neckline that might be rising. We've got that MACD in positive territory. We've got the RSI above 50, but here we are coming up to the 200 period. Eventually, I think you'll get the 20 back above the 50 period moving average here. So we'll see. Do we have a continuation doji? Do we have a doji that gives us a bigger pullback? The doji is the candle of indecision. It could be a continuation or reversal bar. Again, I believe the S&P has bottomed. I believe this move is corrective. A, B, C. That we're in minor wave 1 right now, completing intermediate wave 4 over here. I believe that we're in intermediate wave 5, completing the first minor wave. This is wave 1 and 2, and we're currently in wave 3 right now, or possibly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's possible. Went a little high there with the 5, but again, you get my drift here. But again, we're kind of doing what Bitcoin did, and that's moving up to the 200 period moving averages and then kind of consolidating. And when we got the bullish alignment of the moving averages, we went higher. But we'll see, again, does this inverse head and shoulders end up setting up? We've had these divergences on the RSI, and again, the first divergence was the gap down to the 200 period here with the GDP. The second divergence that formed over here was our pullback to our 50 period moving average that we just had. Now we're bouncing off of that level. We'll be watching. Do we have more work to be done? I'm speculating on a wave 3 and a 4 here and a 5 for minor wave 1. Again, this is speculation. I do not trade Elliot wave. Wave 3 may not be done yet. We may still have a larger wave 4 that may look something like that, and then go back up here and get 5. Doji's a continuation. Then we'll be watching, do we come up here, setting up a rising wedge? That's a possibility. And again, here I've marked neckline. This is speculation that maybe we go up a little bit higher above horizontal resistance and end up coming up here and then getting the right shoulder, something like that. I think that that's very, very possible. But right here, whether 3 is done or 4 is done, this is total speculation. Do not read too much into that. Again, I'm looking to be either validated or invalidated, and sometimes you just never know until a move is done. We saw the MACD firm up at the center line. I think Bitcoin is in its first minor wave. Bitcoin had a spectacular rally today, and again, Bitcoin is up 35%. I called the bottom. My signals bottomed on the 7th and the 9th. Bottoming signals, the same time we saw the bottom here with the S&P500, the 7th and the 9th. Bitcoin's now risen, and it's soaring right now. It's up about 4.5% day. The session's not over yet, and it trades around the clock. So again, I'll be watching. Eventually join Bitcoin and get back above the 200 period in the daily time frame. The 50 is above the 200 here on the 60-minute chart. We're holding above the cloud. We're bouncing off the 50, bouncing off the 50. So again, positive things here. But again, I think you're probably going to see something like this happen. You can continue the rally with the doji and then get a pullback and get a possible wave 1 and wave 2 completing. I think that, again, these negotiations, talks, I should say, over the weekend between the U.S. and China, really more about de-escalation than about starting formal negotiations with trade. We rally up, and then there can be some uncertainty. Oh, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And then it happens, and boom, boom. Uncertainty surrounding it at first. Maybe we rally up here, and then there's some uncertainty. Oh, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And then we get this massive rally because, again, we're likely to see the White House reduce the China tariffs. 2018 trade agreement, China made a bunch of made a deal with the United States, and they didn't keep any of it. I think the United States is going to be very careful this time, because China did not keep its word last time. It's a bunch of paper. Violated everything that they said they were going to do. Honor their commitment at all. I think that we'll likely see a reduction in the tariffs. I don't know that it goes down to the same level as everybody else because China negotiated in bad faith the last time around. So the United States might try to keep tariffs higher than everybody else's to try to get them to negotiate a fair deal that they're willing to keep. Now, the tariffs were paused, countries, and reduced down to the 10% level. See, reciprocal tariffs paused and a reduction, but that level that China's tariffs might be reduced to might be higher than everybody else because of the way they've handled this with retaliating demands of insisting that the tariffs be removed in order to negotiate and these kinds of things. And NASDAQ got a doji. The cloud is starting to flip green into the future here. We're seeing the same thing on the S&P 500 daily chart. Clear these clouds like Bitcoin did. Again, same thing with the S&P. If we stall here, you can get a right shoulder immediately. We have a doji. It could be a continuation or it could be a reversal. I still think Bitcoin goes higher and the market may follow Bitcoin a little bit higher. Actually, Bitcoin's going to get a pullback. And if we see a push above the cloud and then a pullback on NASDAQ and S&P, you might see a pullback to the cloud here, getting above it and then pulling back to it. And again, possibly the rising neckline there, as I've talked about. So again, we'll be watching the candle here. Do we pop higher and then pull back? Do we turn right here? But again, these inverse head and shoulder patterns have some real possibilities. Going at the 200 with a candle of indecision. Last time we were at it, we turned off of it. The time before that, we were turned off of it. Eventually, we're going to get back above it. If we do that with the doji continuation, or if we get a pullback right here and now for a right shoulder. Same thing here. Do we have a possible 1, 2, and a 3, or maybe 3 is done yet? We're working on 4, or 4 is done. Again, Elliot wave is totally speculation. Different possibilities until the rally is complete. We'll be watching, but I do think we have a minor wave 1, NASDAQ, S&P, and I believe that's what's happening with Bitcoin. And again, following Bitcoin, they follow Bitcoin down, they follow Bitcoin back up. Actually, I think they're going to join Bitcoin and getting back above the 200 period moving average. Thing here, MACD in positive territory. The RSI is still holding above 50, so positive things going on. If we have a doji continuation, we could see the stochastic turn back up and again remain at extremes for an extended period of time. But again, if we have a continuation doji, it still form the inverse head and shoulder patterns. Both the inverse head and shoulder patterns, if they form, would measure to new highs above the February top. Thing with NASDAQ, as I've said with the S&P, I believe the move is corrective. I believe the move is done. There's major support, as I've talked about previously, on the weekly charts. The 10 above the 50, S&P did it right after, the day after, with the NASDAQ doing it first here. And again, I think the 20 will get back above the 50. When that happened with Bitcoin, it took off. So we'll be watching. Again, we're consolidating just under the 200 period, very similar to what we saw happen with Bitcoin. Want to see my latest Bitcoin video? I'll link it at the end of this video. NASDAQ and S&P bouncing on major support, but those 20-week moving averages are directly overhead. Again, we could back test the trend line. We can hit the 20-week or even overthrow them a little bit and still pull back and end up getting the right shoulder and a wave 2. So again, just be watching the 20-week. We're directly underneath it at this time. Still may tag it or overthrow it and back test the trend line and then get the pullback. We'll be watching this weekly chart of the NASDAQ. This is our linear skilling. We have a really nice looking channel here with our linear skilling with the NASDAQ. Going to new highs on into August or September, probably, maybe July. I think we're going to top. Narrative with the NASDAQ is we're going to have on social media that we're going to get rejection here at the 200 and we're going to come down something like this follow. Well, if we do that, we'll be taking out the 50-month moving average. We'll be taking out the 200-week moving average. We'll be taking out support. So again, that would be extremely bearish if that happened. That we're bouncing off of these levels is extremely bullish. Got to get back above these 200 period moving averages. But at other death crosses through this entire bull market, many of them, most of them marked bottoms. Before the death cross or just after it, that's what we likely have here. Same thing here with the 60-minute chart that I talked about with the S&P 500. We are up about 1%, 195 points on the NASDAQ. Again, we did not close at the highs, but again, these possible inverse head and shoulder patterns. Again, I'm speculating on a 1, 2, maybe 3, 4, or maybe 4 is not done yet, or maybe 3 is not done yet. Again, still carving out, so there's still uncertainty surrounding that. But if we get a push higher, again, you could see a right shoulder develop here on these patterns. If we sell off, I'll be watching the 200 period moving averages. Again, we've had the golden cross. We have gaps way down here, but end up setting up a right shoulder immediately. You can come down here towards the 200 period moving average. And again, turns it down now, it would be sloping lower. That scenario would be that, okay, we pull back now and get the right shoulder, and then we get the rally point next week and have the inverse head and shoulders play out. So we'll be watching to see how it unfolds. Bitcoin goes higher. We'll see if the market can follow it. I think Bitcoin goes a few more $1,000s higher. I think it'll end up getting a bigger pullback. So we may see the market do the same. Again, we're pushing slightly higher on the S&P. We could form larger divergences on some of the intraday charts. Still have blue bars. Again, a candle of indecision could be a continuation or a reversal. It's possible we get the right shoulder immediately. Some charts I'm watching. Horizontal and VWAP resistance directly overhead here. We've seen things turn back to bullish. Can they remain that way? Momentum line is still positive. Signals remain bullish. The doji's telling us something big is going to happen. Either we're going to get a continuation, reversal. It's telling us something, a big move up or down is about to happen. That's what the doji message is. We've had 9 counts on the S&P and NASDAQ. That could give us a bigger pullback. Sometimes you go a little bit higher and then you pull back. We'll see how it unfolds here. Did get a little bit of a pullback so far with the 9 count on the S&P daily chart. And then for the NASDAQ, we got the 9 count. Could we go a little higher? Certainly could. A little bit of a pullback here. The right shoulder right now, it could evolve into a bigger pullback. So we'll be watching. No indecisions near our 200 period moving averages.